Plataforma de información musical y radio online. Rutas Alternas. Escucha.
Siempre es un gusto en Rutas Alternas poder presentarte artistas que están labrando su nombre en el camino de la música emergente, sobre todo que están despuntando, que son estrellas en ascenso, y es el caso de Dylan Cartlidge, que hemos disfrutado mucho sus trabajos recientes, que tiene frente a sí un EP que publicará este año, pero nos conectamos por videollamada con Dylan para que nos platique más detalles al respecto. Hola, Dylan.
Hola. Gracias for having me.
It's a pleasure to have this conversation with you. Where are you right now?
I'm currently on the edge of space on Zoom
I see.
at the moment, but I'm in the UK, in the north of the UK, in a small seaside town called Redcar.
How's the winter?
It's very cold. We're right next to the North Sea, so we got all that wind from Scandinavia, all that coldness from Antarctica, but we're cool.
I know it's a little hard because of the weather, but the Sea of the North is amazing, right? It has a very good vibe. I know a lot of emotions when you look some places over there in the north and the sea. I don't know, a great feeling.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people are attracted to warmer climates, especially here in Britain, because we don't get it very often. So they love to be in the warm weather. And don't get me wrong, I do too. But there is something really beautiful about, especially I love the feeling of going onto the beach and seeing the sea and really seeing the power of nature and feeling how cold it can be, and then getting into your house and putting the fire on and being with loved ones. There's something really calming and something really nice about that.
Because exactly the beaches here in Mexico are very different from the UK, but there's a different vibe. But I also enjoy to be with a big sweater, walking through a gray beach, and
Yes.
have these emotions.
Yeah, very much so. And I think it's just more in line with kind of who I am as a person. I do love the heat. I do love to be out in the sun, but I also love to snuggle up in the cold too.
Great, Dylan. So you are a racing star. I love your singles, your recent singles, and you have been very busy during 2020. I know the pandemic, it's been very hard for music, but you have a lot of work. What can you tell us about your 2020?
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, it's very kind of you to say that. My 2020 has been new music. It's been the last EP that I've released, which was the Yellow Brick Road EP. And then really, it's been about, really building an album and building a project in lockdown, and taking everything I've been doing over the last 3 or 4 years and bringing it into a project, which is something that I've tried to do my whole life, really. And it's been a unique opportunity, not being able to go out into the world to see myself in a different way. I think not having the usual hustle and bustle of life, and through that, I think I've been able to grow and to be able to kind of make music. I'm currently kind of locked down in my kind of laundry room in my house, and this is where my makeshift studio is. And I've just been churning out tunes, man. I've been grooving, I've been playing and just trying to use all these emotions, good and bad, with everything that's going on and turning that into something that people can listen to.
Where do you make your record? You went to a studio, you do it in your own house, or how was the process of creating your singles?
The singles so far have been songs that have been made in studios, but the songs that are coming up, my recent single Molasses and the new song to come, Anything Can Happen, are songs that have been written largely in lockdown, and they've been songs that have been written here from home in this very seat.
Okay, so Dylan, your music is very interesting because you have a lot of influence, a lot of vibes from R&B and funk and jazz and hip hop and maybe some rap. It's very interesting. How do you mix all these elements to create something new, something fresh, something that's very, very catchy?
Thank you. I think it's one of those things where, I'm a big believer in authenticity, and I'm a big believer in if you kind of sound like yourself, and if you make the noises that you just make when nobody else is around, or the first thing that comes to your head. It's kind of like, that sounds like you. And I kind of hear that, when I listen to, artists like Sly and the Family Stone, or Stevie Wonder, and even like Michael Jackson. I feel like when I heard, Michael Jackson, I could hear parts of Stevie Wonder in Michael Jackson's voice. And that told me, I think that was a massive part in telling me that, when people kind of sing, or when people, express their arts kind of true to who they are, you hear shades of other people because they've been influenced by other people. And so I'd like to think that, maybe a lot of the different, elements and genres and influences that people kind of pick up from my music is something that is hopefully inherently part of who I am and my experiences.
It's also very important to be honest, and we find in your lyrics this way to say some things that happens to you, some stories around you. I don't know, how do you catch these things you want to say?
I guess it's hard, in a way, for anybody, regardless of what industry you're in, you're always kind of thinking about risk versus reward, or how much do I share, who do I want to be. And for me, it was a massive part of it is I've just started this journey, no matter where it goes, no matter how long it lasts. I've just done this being like, I had quite a traumatic upbringing, and I've tried my best to turn that into a story of hope, in that, regardless of who you are, where you come from, what, cards you've been given in life, there's always a way to turn that into something positive, and there's always a way in which where life doesn't have to tell you who you are and how happy you should be based on, where you come from and what you look like.
It's very important, Dylan, to have this self-awareness, to have this knowledge about the mental issues, and to know that we can get help and we can change things, but we need to do things in order to change, right?
100%. And I think that's the hardest thing, sometimes, like you say, doing things is the biggest factor in change, and the biggest thing to change. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. For me, where I was from, people constantly around me, my kind of family didn't have jobs, they'd never been to university. Lots of people where I was from, they were either turning to drugs, they were going to prison, some of them were losing their lives. And it's really hard sometimes when you're surrounded, or your friends or family or people around you, and maybe there's a lot of bad around that. There's a lot of there's a lot of negative choices, or there's a lot of, and I think that sometimes it's the hardest thing to do is to do the right thing, or to make that step. Or the biggest change could just be the biggest part of change is to do something, like you say. And so I feel like for me, it is really important to do something, and sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. And I've really realized through music that there's been artists I've listened to that have made me see that there is something that can be done, and there is power, in change, and that regardless of where you've come from, there is things you can do.
And the music is one of the best vehicles to achieve that, right? Because you can express yourself, you can find some emotions, and you can share it with other people that connect with you.
Definitely. I think, I'd like to, obviously it's not the same for everybody, but I'd like to think that, art is a vehicle for, self-expression. It is a vehicle for, social commentary. Sometimes it is a vehicle for change. And like, your Martin Scorsese's, or, your Quentin Tarantino's of the world, or whatever, I feel like they're people who, use film and use visuals and use actors to be able to tell stories. And, I think that, that's something that, I'm trying to do, which is hopefully just like, a lot of artists have done throughout, throughout the past is just try to make something and to say something and to really express yourself.
Dylan, you will release your next EP this year in May, right? The Yellow Brick Road, correct?
Yeah, so I released Yellow Brick Road last year, and then this year I'm going to be releasing a new project that's starting with Molasses, and the next song that will be Anything Can Happen.
Cool.
But it was a real Yellow Brick Road EP was a real good opportunity for me to put out that next step and to be able to show people another side of me. And it's something that, I've taken a lot from.
And after this single, Anything Could Happen, and your next EP, are you planning to make a record, an LP?
So yeah, I think that this new song is going to be part of a new project. It's going to be aiming towards a record. I think that my last EP will be, my kind of will be the last EP I had will be the last EP before a record, and so these upcoming releases are going to be part of a record.
And you are planning to do it in the UK, to enter an studio to work with some producer, or what's your expectations about your album?
Yeah, so the expectations, it's something that I've always wanted to do. It's something that I've always taken. When I embarked upon the journey to make a change and to do something positive, the idea was to always make an album that was about those experiences and to really say something. And I have work that I've done over the years in studios and things, but really this album and this record has been made in lockdown. It's been made with people, producers and things, not actually in the studio but virtually, where I've been doing recording and production on this end, and they've been obviously recording and producing on their end, and then we've kind of been doing it remotely. But that's very much how the record's been written.
You have released your music through Glassnote Records. How was working with them?
Yeah, it's been a really good experience. It's been a learning experience. It's the first time I've ever been on a record label, and I think I was very lucky to be able to be on a record label like Glassnote for the first time, and to be able to sign to Glassnote, because with them being a big record label, but also being an independent record label, it's been the perfect opportunity for me to grow. I feel like I have a lot of creative freedoms that not a lot of artists, especially alternative artists, do have, that signed to maybe major record labels. And so I really do feel like it's been the perfect home for me and my music, and has been the right place to put my album out.
Absolutely, because an independent artist with an independent label only gets good stuff, right? Stronger together.
Yeah, that's the thing. It feels like a lot more wholesome. It feels like, although obviously there's a massive business element to it, and the thing that sold me the most is that it does feel like a family. I know that people always say you shouldn't mix family and business, but there's a real healthy balance here of people that really care about music, that also really care about the business that they run, and through that really make a great environment to give artists the best opportunity to further themselves and to create music that represents them.
Great, Dylan. So we will have your next single, Anything Could Happen, on March 12th. And later this year, we will have your next EP, and maybe at the end of 2021, your album.
Anything That Happens is going to be the next song, and then the dream is to have the album. Hopefully, hopefully this year. We'll see how things go, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be the year that people get to hear a record from me.
So Dylan, looking forward to listen your next single and your next songs. I hope that the live music returns in the end of the summer or in the fall, so you can come here to Mexico to play live.
Hey, that would be amazing. Thank you, first of all, Gilbert, for saying that. I would love to come to Guadalajara, and I would love to come over and play a show.
Oh, please!
You'll have to show me around. I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to see the station. I'd love to see some great Mexican artists and bands, local to Guadalajara. And I'm coming straight for you when this is all over.
Looking forward for that, Dylan, because I think that it's very important for an artist when it comes to Mexico, go not only to Mexico City, that it's very important, but to come to Guadalajara or Monterrey, two important city with a big scene, with a lot of places, with a lot of cultural vibe, and not only play music, but have a good time, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like there's a lot of art, and there's I find that there's so many cool bands that I've found, and so many bands that I've loved, that I've had members that have come from Mexico, that have got such a flair, they have such a individuality, they have such a strong spirit, and a really like a fighting spirit, a musical spirit in a lot of ways. And that's something that I really identify with as being from somebody that that hasn't come from a background where everybody's just expected to get in most things, and that maybe having to work a little bit harder to get the opportunities that maybe most people just take for granted. And so I really feel that, and I really would love to come and see all parts of Mexico, and love to come and experience grassroots music and venues and radio, and just I'm a big fan of people, and kind of understanding people and people's point of views, and where people come from, and how they come to make the decisions they do, or the art that they do. And I really would love to come to Mexico and do that.
We will love to have you here, and you will have a blast. I'm pretty sure of that.
Hey, thank you, Gilberto.
Dylan, thank you so much for this conversation. I love your music. Your songs blew my mind all the time, and I really appreciate to can talk with a racing artist, a racing star, because I know you will achieve a lot of things. You will have a great career, and I hope we can find in person in Mexico or in the UK.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored that you say that. I really appreciate that you have taken the time to do this, and for your listeners also. And I would love to come to Guadalajara and come and see you, and come and see where you're from. And I'd love for you to give me a tour of the local music and local food.
Absolutely.
Culture, currently in Guadalajara.
You can count on that.
Yes, well, it's a promise. I'm pinky swearing right now, and I'm going to hold you to that.
Absolutely. So, Dylan Cartlidge, thank you so much for this chat with Rutas Alternas.
Thank you very much. Gracias. Thank you for having me. Muy bien, and have a wonderful evening.
Plataforma de información musical y radio online. Rutas Alternas. Escucha.